Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with I Trek. Huge shout out to everybody that's been tapping in all year long, man. This year's coming to an end, and if this is your first time here, what we like to do is take a look at the most interesting and creepy videos from all around the internet and TikTok. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe if you're not already part of the I Trek fan, man, and let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Antarctica, I found out all kinds of stuff, and it's really interesting because some of the stuff that I've seen, there's actually been news about it recently. The genetic engineering. Anytime I've been doing this remote viewing, the genetic engineering is like the biggest issue. I know we have a lot of issues here on the planet right now, but this is the biggest issue, is genetics being taken off planet, people being taken off planet, this human trafficking. It's not just for, yes, it's a moving of bodies, but it's genetics. There's actually technology down there, Stargate technology under the ice. It's old Anunnaki territory. You can even look at the islands. The islands are such Anunnaki names. I mean, it's like embarrassing. It's so obvious. And so I went under the ice and I saw ships being taken in of children, like tons of people. And there's a technology that I was shown. Imagine a operating table, and you put someone on that operating table, strap them down, and there's a technology that is essentially removing the soul from the body, the life force, and they're putting it in new clones. You know when you go to the bank in those tubes? This is the best way I can explain it. They suck the soul out, it goes into something like that, and then it's harvested, it's stored somewhere else. And then I saw all these big incubators where they're creating life forms. They're in stasis. What happens is they put these souls in these new bodies, but they're wiped. But it was interesting because all these lower vibrational ways of being, like how people are in fear and, easily controlled and traumatized, all that, they're being wired with that. So they're going into these new bodies, these new life forms with a lower consciousness. And so all these people who cannot think for themselves, who won't think for themselves, who are so embedded in fear, I just saw a lot of these people being completely removed from society.
What they're saying is these beings feed off of that lower vibration. So if they can just cultivate enough of these human beings that start out like that, imagine what they're feeding on. Now, what would be cool is if these remote viewers were strapped with GoPros so we can see exactly what they see. That would be pretty dope.
Have you seen this video?
According to the Akashic Records, what superpowers do humans possess and how can we access them? Please give us a total breakdown.
According to the Akashic Records, human beings are not simply physical organisms. They are multidimensional soul beings encoded with a vast range of spiritual abilities that most would consider superpowers. These are not fantasies. They are dormant faculties of divine consciousness waiting to be remembered, activated, and refined through awareness, embodiment, and soul evolution. Here's your full breakdown. The true nature of human superpowers. Human beings were originally designed as avatars of source consciousness, capable of interfacing with multiple dimensions at once. The so-called superpowers are actually natural soul gifts aligned with different layers of the human energy field, including the chakras, light body, pineal gland, heart torus, DNA, especially dormant etheric strands. These powers were suppressed through karmic interference, genetic manipulation, trauma cycles, and collective amnesia, but they were never erased. They simply sleep until the soul is ready. Core human superpowers and their functions. 1. Clairsenses, psychic abilities. Clairvoyance, seeing beyond the veil, visions, auras, symbols. Clairsentience, feeling others' emotions, energies, and timelines. Clairaudience, hearing guidance from other planes, guides, ancestors, source. Claircognizance, sudden inner knowing without explanation. These activate through stillness, meditation, pineal gland decalcification, and trust in subtle perception. Energetic influence and healing, hands-on or distance energy healing. Manipulation of one's biofield or another's with intent. Chakra tuning, aura repair, and frequency shifts. These are often remembered through Reiki, Qigong, Tantra, or innate soul memory. 3. Telepathy and empathic merging. Direct mind-to-mind or heart-to-heart communication, emotional merging across distance or time, receiving dream downloads or thought projections, accessed by clearing ego filters, developing mental silence, and practicing loving resonance. 4. Elemental and environmental mastery, weather influence, plant communication, animal telepathy, relationship with the elements, water, fire, earth, ether, Some ancient souls recall abilities to part water, call wind, or anchor light grids. These powers return through nature communion, reverence, and soul-level purification. Alive, astral travel and remote viewing, conscious separation from the body during meditation or sleep, visiting other realms, star systems, or soul planes, accessing information across time and space.
You know what? As odd as it may sound, I definitely believe that. I mean, if you've been watching this channel long enough, the possibilities are there. Definitely, the possibilities are there. But if you don't believe it, it'll never be a part of your program.
You better get your finances straight now, or you're going to be cooked.
You've already signed up for the digital ID without even knowing it. Here's how. There won't be a sign-up sheet or app that you have to download. Digital ID will be created for you by our generous government. It will simply be given to you without your required participation or consent. Once implemented, one by one, all the systems you use, financial, health, education, the internet, shopping, etc., will all require it. Without it, you'll be cut out of the system. This is happening right now in Russia and India. How will they do this? It's quite clever and simple. And this is how it's already been done in other countries like Denmark and Italy, where they issued 40 million digital IDs. All the government needs is to pair your government ID with biometric data. They can then combine your legal identity with your biometric data and create your digital ID. That's it. Poof, and it's done. So how are they already doing this? Well, the necessary ingredients came online when the Real ID Act was implemented, because it is no longer just a state ID, but now a national federal ID. And where do you need it? At the airport. The airport is where TSA set up their biometric face scanners. That's the data that's combined when you show your Real ID or another federal ID. That combination is the recipe for a digital ID, and you're creating it without even realizing it. So, the most important step you can take is to opt out of TSA's facial scanners every time you fly, and never provide biometric data to anyone. Without the biometrics, no digital ID can be created. If you want to remain free of total surveillance and control, you must opt out now.
I mean, it definitely sounds good, and it definitely looks like there might be a way out, but I'm pretty sure the government has a few tricks up their sleeve. You know what I mean?
Because when they clone you, your body is kept in basically a form of stasis. You're unconscious but alive, and how they animate this clone is they wait for you as an individual to fall asleep, and you hit your REM cycle, your REM, your rapid eye movement cycle of your sleep stage. And that's now where they can take other technology, basically grab your consciousness due to the wavelengths or whatever, however they do it. They grab your consciousness and then dump you into this lifeless clone body, and you wake up and you're in a different area, to completely different location. You're brought into this arena and things happen to you. Sometimes they say that they go and they will torture you in front of a crowd, cut you open, or they'll do like their wildest, most depraved sexual fantasies to you, sodomizing you in front of people, like almost a competition. Okay. So you could go to sleep tonight. Okay. And then in the middle of the night, you wake up and you're in this big arena.
So they can take you out without you being in the place.
Right, absolutely. They could transport you 3,000 miles away.
Will they transport you back
after they're done with you? Yes, then they transport you back in your body. You wake up and you're like, oh my God, that was the craziest nightmare I've ever had and stuff. And this Donald Marshall guy claims that he's multiple times have had this happen to him. And he also claims that like famous politicians, actors, actresses, government heads are participating in this. He mentioned names like Mila Kunis.
All right, so since there was a bunch of weirdos in the comment section saying that, oh, don't do a transition. We don't trust you. We don't trust you with the transition. Okay. There's a snowball. Right here. It's right here. Hold on. Hold on. All right. No transition, guys. But you guys think that I'm swapping out fucking snowballs and shit. Weirdos. Look at that. Smells like plastic. Literally smells like plastic. Probably because it is. Probably because our snow is fake, our food is fake, our water's fucking fake. Everything's fake in this world, including the snow. If you guys live somewhere else and you're getting snow, do the same thing. Tag me in that shit. I'll throw it on my story. Fake ass snow. Yeah.
So we had our first snowstorm of the season here in Virginia, and my husband's like, oh my God, it's perfect snowball weather, but I want y'all to see something about the snow. I saw it and immediately I was like, something's wrong with it. What the
It's not melting.
That's not melting even a little bit, yo. What the hell? That's something else.
It's not dripping.
It's not, well, no, it's not dripping, not even a little bit. No, show me, Papa. Yeah. Don't know what that is, but that's not snow. And kids, please don't eat it.
Now, if you're fortunate enough to live by some snow, tap in and let me know if that's a real thing or not. I don't live anywhere near snow, so that's pretty obvious to me that that might be real or fake.
This is nasty work. They are pumping them fake clouds in the air again. And this is Miami, and we barely get sunny days because they cover up the sun with these clouds.
They never evaporate. It's not real smoke. It stays in the air like a painting.
Because that's the only way they can shut us down is by blocking us from the sun and spraying this stuff in the air.
All right, so I've been collecting this fog. I've had this mason jar out for a couple days now. And I don't know if you can see on there, but it looks like oily, bubbly kind of goop on it. So I don't know what is in this fog or fog particles, or a lot of people's called it smart dust. I mean, there's all kinds of things, but you can see, I don't know if you can see like through that, but if you look right through it, you'll see like these bubbly, like oily, see it on the top? Now this is from the outside of the bottle, of course, but you can look up through it and see like a bubbly substance. So what I'm going to do now after this is I'm going to take it inside, put it on something, let it dry out, and then maybe send it off and get it sampled. Now you can still see the stuff dropping, so it's not normal. Next week they're calling for a tsunami, or not a tsunami, but a atmospheric river, and atmospheric river on steroids for northern, central, and southern California. So if it's one thing, if it's the fog, now it's an atmospheric river. Crazy weather here in California. Thank you.
Hey, is he trolling? Let me know if you think he's trolling. I think he's trolling. I think I know what that is, but YouTube would crucify me if I even spoke on it. So you know what? Let's just say he looked like he was trolling.
Did you guys hear they just announced that the air quality in California is officially unhealthy after its parts per million of particulate matter reached a certain threshold that now they're suggesting you stay indoors and close your windows. And if you're elderly or young or have any lung thing going on, you should not be outside. Now, the strange thing about this, and someone correct me in the comments, but they're saying it's a totally natural fog because of winter and the temperature change in the ground versus the air and all that. But then why would it be like toxic? I guess that's because the particulates that are coming off the cities anyway and all the pollution in general, but is staying in place as opposed to, dissipating. But this is a big deal, man. They're warning people. And apparently, according to this guy, it says, Gerald DePalta told Daily Mail that he and his family have been coughing and experiencing congestion for a week. Like, people aren't feeling well. This reminds me of when it was smoky as hell when I was in Edmonton and there was a crazy wildfire. But this isn't wildfire smoke. Yeah, okay. During these fog events, temperature inversions can trap car exhaust and industrial pollutants near the ground, potentially worsening air quality and causing respiratory irritation. Now, I do wonder if any of this foggy stuff is coming from other places. but I cannot confirm. Now, this guy wiped his car with his finger and it had a white dust. And what they say is natural radiation fog, which is not nuclear radiation. It's the radiation they're saying with the temperature change between the ground and the air during winter, is not known to leave a white residue, as it simply is a cloud at ground level consisting of millions of tiny pure water droplets. I'm not so sure it's too pure. That evaporate as the sun warms the air, but it hasn't evaporated. This is the weird thing. The residue could be due to dust, pollution, smoke, or chemical particles suspended in the air, which could be causing the mysterious health issues. Now, here's the crazy part. Do you remember the Northern California fires, specifically when a million, or let's say rather thousands, of houses burn? All the plastics, the PVCs, the chemicals, the freaking adhesives, everything went into the valley, and like the air was the probably most toxic it's ever freaking been, which is insane because they still have not cleaned up the Palisades. Well, maybe they have cleaned it up somewhat, but they left all these buildings that have been destroyed without dealing with them, when really you should treat it like an oil spill. And the water was like turning black along the ocean from the rain, which was washing all the chemicals right into the ground and then right into the ocean. So I don't know, man, we are mismanaging seemingly the environment here. I can think of a million ways. Like, dude, there's literally mineral compositions that you could spray in the sky that when they land on the ground, the minerals boost the soil microbiome and it neutralizes different contaminants and stuff. But this clearly isn't on their freaking docket. Otherwise, they probably would do that. There's no way I know of different ways that you can spray things from the air that's actually healthy for the ground and boosts ecosystem and is healthy and is good for everyone, like minerals, bioavailable minerals, not to be confused with minerals.
Couple different steps, but first we have a surgeon, human neurosurgeon, which hopefully the robot will do this portion of it as well. But at the moment, we have a human neurosurgeon that exposes the brain. So they drill a 25 millimeter hole in the skull and then expose the brain. And then the robot has this tiny needle. It's about the size of red blood cells, so really, really tiny, thinner than a human hair, inside this cannula. And this cannula is actuated by precision motors on the robot to engage with this thread loop to grasp it. And then you insert it into the brain 128 times. There's a total of 8 electrodes per thread, so total of 1,000 channels. And this is done while avoiding vasculature. And then once all the threads are inserted, implant basically replaces this hole, and then you put the skin flap over, everything is invisible, and you become a cyborg.
Scientists taught parrots the concept of money, then introduced income inequality to see what they would do. And the researchers were blown away with their findings. They gave the parrots metal rings and taught them it was their currency, which can be used to buy food. Once that was understood, the scientists introduced a massive wealth discrepancy. One parrot would get 10 rings, while his neighbor got 0. Instantly, the wealthy parrot noticed his neighbor wouldn't be eating, so it started passing metal rings through a gap in the wall to the poor parrot. They ran the test over and over, and the parrots consistently shared their wealth so everyone could eat, which was a far more altruistic result than the time researchers did a similar study with monkeys, which eventually led them to sharing their money for adult favors.
Yo, somebody needs to ask Bryce Mitchell what he meant by this.
Hey, if you don't let Jake Paul win, he's going to kill you 9 days later. Or just kill your 2 best friends, but somebody's going to die if you don't let him win.
What?
More and more theories keep coming out about that Jake Paul fight. And the more it unfolds, it's starting to make just a little bit of sense. Definitely let me know what you think about it. I think we're pretty well aware that sports are rigged. But at that level, man, he got his jaw broke. I mean, what part of the game is that?
He's saying he ain't followed the script, so was he supposed to lose the fight? It's crazy because Anthony just won the fight with Jake Paul, right? And then he gets in an accident. He survives. But the people that he with don't survive, right? My condolences to the family. This is crazy, right? But this is just, it sounds very, very suspect, bro. It's something that's tied with these contracts, bro. That is always something weird happening after they get a big win. Like, I don't know, man. I just don't trust none of these industries. But they say Joshua sustained only minor injuries and was rescued from the wreckage. But the other 2, that's crazy, bro. Like, they was driving wild.
1 week after Anthony Joshua beats Jake Paul in what many say was a scripted fight, he gets into an accident where 2 of his best friends are unalived in a tragic car crash and yet he escapes with minor injuries in Nigeria, his home country. Some say that the fight that he had with Jake Paul was supposed to go a different way, that it was scripted, and every time Jake Paul throws out the tongue, it's to tell the other boxer to calm down. The same way he did with Mike Tyson, and you can see in the video when he does it, Mike Tyson nods slightly as though he's acknowledging, yeah, I should not do that. When Jake Paul did that, Anthony Joshua didn't back down. In fact, a few seconds after he did that, Anthony Joshua did it back to him and then began pounding him. No diddy. At the very end, he ended up knocking out Jake Paul, to which Jake Paul's expression not only looked fearful, scared, but also shocked that things weren't going the way he did. A lot of people lost a lot of money. And some are saying now this is a spiritual sacrifice because the humiliation ritual was supposed to happen to Joshua. He escaped and it actually happened to Jake Paul. So now somebody had to pay the price for the fact that things didn't work out the way they thought it would work out. Now again, this is just ish and giggles for entertainment, and it doesn't mean that it's true at all. It's just saying what everybody else has been saying. But it's very interesting if you ask me.
Number one predictor of whether people like you in social settings is tied to how many questions you ask them. Just think about those experiences where you feel like you asked someone else all the questions and they didn't ask you anything about your life. You're not crazy to think that that's rude.
But at the end of the day, if people don't like you, that's their problem.
Know that Jim Carrey is allegedly a satanic priest of the highest order? Allegedly. This video is just for entertainment. It's not to be taken seriously, so please don't. This is just for laughs and issues and giggles and is not meant to hurt anybody. In any event, Mr. JC, not Jesus Christ, Jim Carrey, who sits at the very center of a parody of The Last Supper, wearing a picture of Saturn that represents the most low demonic devil. That's true. Saturnalia, celebration of Saturn, the most low, Christmas, tithing, all this other stuff, is there parodying with the most memorable, I guess, comedians of my time, because I guess I grew up during their time, and they all, if you look at their shirts and the different symbolisms, are all acknowledging and celebrating Satan, the most low. All these people who enjoy pizza, and if you don't know what pizza is children. Children. Cappy was off for bringing attention to this. A lot of people say by Tom Hanks. But he did speak to Jim Carrey. In one of his own videos, he alleges Jim Carrey was scared for him and scared for everybody because of the brackets. Brackets are the deaths and so forth. That's true. That's 1,000% true. You can find the video. And Cappy was like, you can't be scared, man. If you eat children, you're going to die. You're going to burn. But there's a chance he was trying to save people. Do you think that they got saved? No. Years later, they're parodying the Most High, accrediting the universe. Well, I'll tell you one thing you can't credit the universe for. You're burning in hell forever for being a demonic piece of...
There is a lot of weird stuff with Kobe Bryant's death. The helicopter crash mirrors a different helicopter crash where a CEO went down. There's mirroring in it. The Kobe sacrifice being something that kicked off the ritual. Well, yeah, he died January of 2020. So right before the kickoff. And of course, I was thinking about totally different things at that time, but he was buried in Corona Del Mar Cemetery. And that's a major hit. There's a cartoon that features Kobe Bryant going down in a helicopter crash, and right on the tail of the helicopter is a Freemasonic square and compass. What the hell?
The big takeaway that I took away was he died the day of the Grammys or the day before, and they did this ritual at the Grammys. So while the Grammys was going on, these big figures are passing away. It seems to be very energetic ritual of sacrifice.
You want to know what kind of world we're going to live in soon? Some of these robots are being taught to manufacture themselves. And we know that it's something that's going to happen eventually. They'll fully manufacture themselves. But what's even more scary than that is they're going to run their own upgrades. They run updates, they make advancements all by themselves. It's all run using AI. So these robots that come out in the future, once they've mastered this process, they're going to be brand new robots that we've never seen before, but us humans had nothing to do with.
Now, if you ever had any question about what part of the AI revolution would start the downfall of man, this right here. If they're getting to code if they know how to code themselves, repair themselves, and build themselves, what's stopping them from taking over? It's game over after that.
You know how Adderall got started? There's this Swiss chemist, and he's playing tennis with his wife, Rita, and he's testing different methamphetamine derivatives on her. And he's playing tennis with her, and she's like, this is the one. I am locked in right now. And he names it Ritalin. And they start to use this in different areas, giving it to like soldiers and stuff like this. And they realize this makes people focus. We could give it to people that have trouble focusing. And the trouble with that is there's no way to actually diagnose ADHD with a blood test, not even brain scans. So how do they diagnose ADHD in this country? Do you go into a psychiatrist's office, they do a little test. Who is the test designed by? The companies that sell the ADHD drugs. It's a joke in the United States that 1 out of 10 boys is on Adderall. We tell boys to go sit there under blue light, fed bad food, and if you can't focus on an underpaid teacher that doesn't really care about what they're saying, you need to get on a form of amphetamines. That's fucked up.
One of the main directions that AI is going in right now is trying to make things as similar to a human mind as possible. That involves being able to perceive the environment, being able to take in stimuli and react to it. And this group actually did make a functional skin for robots that involved layers. It has continuous perception across the entire body, and when one is disconnected, they experience it as something like pain. This group actually shows that the robot will react to pain or injury to itself as the current is disrupted. Then it can tell that the skin has been removed and when it's been repaired. I'm not entirely sure why they needed to show the expression. I guess humans need something visual. One of the things that is required to give a robot perception similar to ours is a memristor, so something that remembers the current that passes through it, just like our neurons. However, if we start building minds with memristors, we are also creating something that cannot be fully erased. I mean, yeah, if you create something that has some subconscious memory of the experiences it's had, just because you wiped all the data, it's still going to physically be there.
Hey, for me, that takes things just a little too far. I wouldn't want a robot or any kind of humanoid that I purchased that I have living with me telling me that they've scraped their knee or any kind of sign that they, can feel pain, because it's just a little too close to comfort. You know what I mean? You're a robot, I'm a human. Big separation. I like that gap there. You know what I mean?
James Franco tried to get 8 college degrees, but here's why that got him canceled. Because back in 2010, Franco's crushing it. He's an action star and gets an Oscar nomination, so he's worth millions and gets anything he wants. Except there's one thing Franco doesn't have: respect. Because Hollywood treats him like a pretty boy and not an artist. Except to change that, he needs artist credentials, which means doing a bunch of indie movies, but that'll take a decade. So he finds a credential that works faster, fancy art degrees, and applies to all these colleges. Except these guys love the idea of a famous actor being a student, so they all accept him. But then Franco enrolls in all of them because he thinks that'll make him look like the ultimate artist. Except they're not in the same location and they're all full-time jobs, so he fails at them. Except Hollywood just cares about how it looks, and it looks artsy, so he gets amazing press. But then disaster strikes, because looking artsy makes people want to learn from him, so he opens a school, but allegedly it's a lady pipeline, so he gets canceled.
David is officially expected to be facing murder charges in the Celeste case. So authorities currently believe that David was involved in the passing of Celeste. Now, as soon as last month, David was not considered a suspect in this case. Then authorities changed their tune and he was a suspect. And now he might actually just go to prison for the rest of his life for what happened to Celeste.
Now, from the little bit that I do know about this David and Celeste case, I mean, it was kind of obvious from jump that he had something allegedly to do with it. I mean, it was pretty obvious.
Chinese military announced today that it is mobilizing Army, Navy, Air, and rocket units around Taiwan in major military drills. China is calling the drills Just Mission 2025.
What if I told you all the presidents, and I mean all of them, were still alive? But I wasn't going to just speculate on it. I was going to prove it. Here's Teddy Roosevelt. Here's Robin Williams, and that's both of their wives. And here's Andrew Jackson and his wife, and, well, what if we paired a younger picture with Miss Jackson with Miss Maxwell? Do you think that they might just fit pretty well down to the lips, the nose, and eye placement? And what if this goes back to our very first president and his wife, Martha? Funny how he looks a little more feminine than her. And a subscriber, Samantha, pointed out the resemblance of Glenn Close and George Washington. Funny, Glenn, especially spelled like Glenn Close, Glenn. It's a funny name for a girl. You want to see something even funnier? Here's Glenn Close's husband, and, well, do you recognize him? How about now? That's Martha Washington. Glenn Close's husband, Martha Washington. And I'm going to stop after this one for a second. Here's the 25th president, William McKinley, and I couldn't help but notice how identical he looked to Dumb and Dumber star Jeff Daniels. Oh, and the first time I ever happened to see this, they started talking about Dumb and Dumber randomly on the TV in the very first second. And you know what's even funnier than that is how he's got a little mark right there. Good old President McKinley. And oh, look at that. So does Jeff Daniels. I did a 10-minute video on this that I'm testing out for the subscribers of mine. Because if anything's going to get censored and shut down and give me account bans and strikes and warnings, it's this one. And let me tell you what that whole video is about. It's how they're not human. Here's Alec Baldwin and President Fillmore. And I say they're not human, and they tell us what they are. Just like the Book of Enoch says, fallen angels are referred to as stars. Go watch the 10-minute video. I'll release it eventually, but I need to test the waters because it's a doozy, and I think it explains exactly what's going on. But of course, all this is for entertainment purposes. I'm sure that they all just are doppelgangers.
It's extremely easy to write this whole situation off as doppelgangers. But isn't it interesting that their former selves in their past lives had prestigious roles too? I don't know, there's something to be looked into for sure.
Even the FBI no longer has to get a warrant to take your communications, right? The metadata from your communications is for sale. All they have to do is call T-Mobile and say, hey, I want Julian Dory's communications. Here's the $5,000 that you charge.
Sure, you've heard the news of NASA discovering city lights on a planet 7 trillion miles away. Here's what happened. 7 trillion miles is just around the Oort cloud, which is a kind of icy shell of debris surrounding our solar system, and the source for many of our comets, meaning that this is our backyard.
How many days until New Year's Day 2026?
New Year's Day in 2026 is only 3 days away, on Thursday, January 1st.
Alexa, how many days until Christmas Day 2026?
There aren't any Christmas holidays in 2026.
Y'all don't find it weird that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, just said that this Christmas that we just had is the last Christmas that we will ever have? Y'all don't find that strange?
Folks, enjoy what may be your last Christmas.
It's the fact that he can just say that out loud and no one is raising questions on what he means by this being our last Christmas. But with the things that are going on in this world, with the fact that we have just went into a war with Iran once again to help Israel, it's always Israel. I just don't understand. The writing's on the wall on what they are trying to do. Also, there was some video when somebody asked their Alexa how many days until next Christmas, and then Alexa was just like, there won't be a next Christmas. And so it's just ironic that he's saying that there will not be a Christmas ever again. This may be our last Christmas. Is he saying that we're going to go to war? Is he saying that things are about to change dramatically for us? Is it this big spiritual thing that's going to happen? Is the world going to end in 2026? The calendar seems like it could be. I mean, if you take Bible prophecy and stuff like that, what exactly does he know that we do not know is my question. And why aren't people raising a big concern? It seems like when somebody says something out loud in plain sight, everyone tends to ignore it and laugh at it. But this should be very concerning for you guys, especially because this has been the least felt like Christmas ever in 2025. It did not feel like Christmas in so many different ways. Let's start with the weather. What is going on with the weather? You get what I'm saying? And so something's up with this guy, and y'all gotta at some point call him out. Like, cause what are we doing?
You know what? And I thought it was a bit odd when he said he'd be the last president. But him coming out and say that this would be the last Christmas, something's up.
I just read something about soy sauce. Let me just tell you. It inhibits bacteria. It contains salt, organic acids, and alcohol that can stop the growth and reproduction of certain bacteria such as E. coli and Staphylococcus. However you say it. That's from the National Institute of Health. You kidding me?
Fascinating research shows that the human Y chromosome, which essentially makes men, is slowly disappearing. And scientists are now divided on what this could mean for the future of the male species. You see, when you look at the DNA structure in men and women, females have 2 X chromosomes, while males have an X and a Y. But research has shown, and excuse the pun, the human male's Y chromosome seems to be battling with the old pesky shrinkage. Some experts suggest that the Y chromosome will completely leave our DNA in roughly 5 million years. How about we just make it through 2023 first? And due to the lack of men in the world, there would be major fertility problems leading to human extinction. But at the same time, not the worst era to be around as a man, though. However, other researchers believe that this isn't going to be a problem at all, stating that we would just simply move over to another chromosome to produce males as other species have done. But the question is, whose Y chromosome has started this process 5 million years too early?
If you are 18 to 25, you are cooked. You go into World War III. If you are 26 to 39, you are still cooked because the age cap's at 39. You go into World War III. If you have ADHD, you are cooked. You are going to World War III. If you have diabetes, congratulations, you ain't going to World War III. If you've ever been put in a mental facility, congratulations, you are not going to World War III. If you are in college, I'm sorry, you are cooked. They actually want you more for the draft because they want to put you in a specialized position. You are going to World War III. If you have a master's degree, you are cooked. If you dropped out of high school, you are safe from World War III. They don't want you. If you are a felon, you are not going to World War III. Now is the best time to be a felon. If you are LGBTQ, I'm sorry, you are cooked. You are still going to World War III. Now, if you're transitioning, you are safe. You are not going to World War III. If you are your only mother's son, I am sorry, you are cooked. You are going to World War III. If you are a woman, you are only half cooked because men are required to go first, but at any time Congress can change legislation if they need more people. If you have kids, you are going to World War III. But if you're actively pregnant, you are not going to World War III. If you have major depressive disorder or severe anxiety, you got to be able to prove, it got to be documented, or you are cooked. If it's not documented, you going to World War III. Like and comment for part 2.
If you've ever wondered why fruits and vegetables come in bags that look like Swiss, it's got to do with something called the confetti illusion.
Karl Gegenfurter, a perception psychologist in Germany, looked into this because he realized that the oranges that he was buying were always far less ripe than he thought they were at the store. Turns out, when fruit is sold in a bag the color of perfect ripeness, it tricks our brains into thinking that the fruit is just as ripe as it looks. So a part of this is light bouncing off the netting onto the fruit, which can enhance the color of the fruit. But it's not just that. There's also a visual illusion happening, even in two-dimensional space. Objects can actually appear to change hues depending on the color of the stripes laid over them. So the next time you see a stunning bag of oranges, just remember, they might not be as perfectly orange as they seem.
I just want to know why there has to be so many mind games when you're entering the grocery store. They're putting red 40 in the meat to make it look like it's new. Now we know the fruit has specific net bags to make the fruit look riper and fresher. I'm not with all the games, man. These mental gymnastics while you're going into the grocery store. I don't like that.
Fun fact of the day. In 1873, a Lumberton, North Carolina man sang so poorly in church that he was indicted by a grand jury and convicted for disturbing a religious congregation.
If World War III starts, there are U.S. states that will be hit first. Not because they did anything wrong, but because America chose them to be the shield. These states were picked to take the first nuclear explosions, so the rest of the country might survive. And the craziest part? Millions of people live in them, and most have no idea they're living on the front line of a nuclear war. Today, we're going through the 10 U.S. states that might get hit first, and why these places became America's sacrifice zones. At number 10, it's New Mexico. New Mexico is where the nuclear age was born. Literally, the first atomic bomb on Earth was tested here at the Trinity site. Today, New Mexico is still the brain of America's nuclear system. Los Alamos builds nuclear triggers. Sandia builds the tech that makes nukes work. Thousands of engineers work on bombs America hasn't even admitted exist. This state designs the weapons, tests the weapon parts, fixes the old systems, and creates future systems. An enemy knows if New Mexico goes dark, America's nuclear brain shuts down. And its labs are surrounded by small towns, meaning any strike hits civilians immediately. We got a risk rating for the states. So Mexico's sacrifice risk is rated at 0.5 out of 10. That's really low. But if New Mexico is the brain, the next state is one of America's forgotten weapons dumps. At number 9, it's Missouri. Missouri looks calm, farms, rivers, barbecue smoke in the air, but beneath fields and suburbs sit abandoned missile bases, left over from the Cold War. Some held warheads the size of trucks. Some held launch pads, still intact underground. Missouri also borders major national rail lines used to move nuclear parts, missiles, and fuel. Enemy planners know this. Whiteman Air Force Base once stored nuclear bombers that could hit any country on Earth. That history matters. Targets never leave the list, they just move down. The risk rating for Missouri is also pretty low, at 1 out of 10, but the next state holds the command center for all of America's nukes. At number 8, it's Nebraska. Nebraska is quiet, open skies and farmland, but underground sits Stratcom, the headquarters of the entire U.S. nuclear system. One building in Nebraska controls every nuclear submarine, every nuclear bomber, every ICBM missile, every satellite alert, every launch message, even every retaliation order. If enemies don't destroy Stratcom instantly, America launches back with full power and wipes entire countries off the map. That makes Nebraska a priority kill target. Enemies only get one shot.
The video just cuts off at Nebraska, but no worries. Next video, part 2, we're going to figure out what other states are left.
Hey, here's your fun fact for the day. Did you know that there's an opposite to deja vu called jamais vu? And what that essentially means is that something familiar starts to feel very foreign to you. There was a famous experiment by a scientist named Chris Moulin and his associates that what they did is they asked subjects to rewrite the word door over and over again, usually about 30 or more times. And what they found out is that people started to really question the word after writing it so many times. They didn't know what it meant anymore, it looked like it was spelled wrong, and something just felt off about it. This is a very common human experience, and everybody can experience it, but it's just something we don't think about all that often.
Exactly 24 hours, every phone, radio, and TV in America is going to go off at the same time. This is the October 4th alert that you've heard everyone talk about for the past couple weeks. If your phone is turned on at this time, it's going to go off. So if you're in school and you're not supposed to have your phone, it's going to go off. If you're in a funeral, your phone is going to go off. If you're in the middle of doing brain surgery, your phone is still going to go off. This is going to happen at exactly 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, October 4th. And if you think you won't remember this, click this button right here and I will send you a reminder 1 hour before because we will also be live streaming it. If for some reason the test tomorrow is interrupted by another natural disaster that's happening, it will be postponed for the same time on Wednesday, October 11th. Now, a lot of people have been telling you how to let this not happen to your phone, but the sad reality is you cannot stop this alert. Whether you turn off emergency alerts, Amber Alerts in your settings, this will bypass all of them and will still be pushed to your phone. Do not miss the blue supermoon tonight. Tonight is your last night until the year 2037 to see a super blue moon.
Around the world, dating has collapsed. Is gone. Birth rates in Japan and South Korea, Italy, and now the United States are way below replacement levels. The countries are dying out. The problem is because the relationships between men and women are an undercurrent between what's going on in the entire world, and the relationships between men and women are just gone bust. So let's talk about that. And now let's bring this back to relationships between men and women. If men and women were able to talk with each other, which they cannot do now, but if they were able to talk with each other, they could come to common ground.
The men who founded America were Freemasons. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere. And the idea that Freemasonry kind of promoted were things like reason and philosophy and liberty and, fraternity, basically like, a brotherhood. And it really resonated in this colonial American period. And these same ideas would later inspire the actual American Revolution. So when colonists decided to break away from Britain and create their own country, the Freemasons and sort of the Freemasonic philosophy actually played somewhat of a role in making that happen. And you can see their influence in the founding documents and even the symbols of the United States. I mean, look at the Great Seal of the United States, which you can see if you have a dollar bill in your pocket. It has several symbols that people associate with Freemasonry. Of course, you have the all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid, and the pyramid itself is unfinished. But one thing is certain, Freemasonry is deeply woven into the fabric of early American society. I've even heard certain theories that, the pyramid is sort of the symbol of ancient building, ancient wisdom that the Freemasons claim that they have, possession of. And furthermore, the unfinished nature of it shows that the Freemasons are constantly working, they're constantly building.
So the Pentagon has said that we are on high alert and there are warnings of potential war. And today, a lot of war meetings happening with President Donald Trump and leaders of other nations. We're going to be covering them all. But we have got a lot to cover. There is a lot happening today, December 29th, 2025. Let's take a look at the latest headlines with me. China stages live fire military drills around Taiwan in a warning to separatist forces. Now, China military buildup leaves the U.S. increasingly vulnerable. Pentagon report has said, leaving us on high alert. And take a look at this. I let you guys know yesterday. Iran's leader says that the country is in full-fledged war with the United States, with Israel, with Europe. Well, Trump has responded today. Take a look at this. Trump says he'll knock the hell out of Iran.
Now I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, but hopefully that's not happening.
I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, Trump said, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. If you like the sound of that, drop a 47 in the comments. Donald Trump coming out strong today in his meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. As you can see, Trump meets with Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago on the second day of key U.S. diplomacy. I'm going to be sharing with you the footage coming out here as we saw his response. He has met with Netanyahu today. Also, in addition to that, take a look at this. Hundreds join Ron Gavili's family to demand the return of the last hostages. We don't forget, as we're hearing that this is still ongoing. We're hearing about Israel, Iran, and Hamas, and they're saying we're still in phase one. They still have not released the bodies of the deceased hostages. And still, take a look at this. Russia-Ukraine war live. Trump, Putin hold a call after the Zelensky meeting we are hearing today. Right now, Donald Trump is holding phone calls, along with, while I mentioned, take a look at this. You can see live footage. You can see the date in the top left corner, December 29, 2025. There is Trump having lunch with Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss the conflicts happening in the Middle East. We're hearing the Pentagon has the United States on high alert for potential wars coming right around the corner. There's a lot happening today, the 29th of December, 2025, as we're entering into 2026. A lot of warnings of potential conflict. Let me know your thoughts. Is 2026 going to be a year of war or peace?
For everybody's sake, I hope it's peace. Definitely peace, because war definitely doesn't accomplish anything. Well, you guys, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me all year long. We are at the end of 2025. And you know what? We're going to go strong in 2026. If you haven't already, smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already part of the iTrack fam. And I will definitely catch you on the next one.